Are you kidding me right now? Chris Jericho showing up on WWE programming in 2024, standing face to face with Cody Rhodes like the last 5 years never even happened. And WWE expects us to just accept this? To pretend like this man didn't spend years trashing the company, didn't build an entire second career telling everyone who'd listen that AEW was the future and WWE was yesterday's news? But now, suddenly, when the ratings are good and the money's right, he's backstage at Raw like he never left. Give me a break. Listen, I don't care what side of the fence you're on, WWE loyalist, AEW diehard, or somewhere in between. What went down needs to be talked about, because this isn't just about Chris Jericho anymore. This is about everything we thought we knew about modern wrestling being thrown out the window. This is about loyalty, legacy, and whether any of it actually matters when the price tag gets big enough. So let me ask you something right now, and I want you to answer honestly in the comments. Does Chris Jericho showing up in WWE after everything he's said and done make him the ultimate opportunist? Or is this actually the most genius move in professional wrestling history? Drop your answer below, because this conversation is about to get heated. Here's what we know happened. Monday Night Raw. The crowd is electric. We're building toward WrestleMania season, and suddenly the arena goes dark. You know that feeling when the lights cut out and every single person in that building knows something big is about to happen. The speculation had been running wild for weeks. Mystery man, secret meetings, backstage whispers, social media going absolutely insane with theories. And then, that music hit. You could feel it through the screen. That iconic theme that's been synonymous with reinvention, with excellence, with 7 different versions of the same man who keeps finding ways to stay relevant. The crowd erupted. Jericho walked out, not in AEW, not in New Japan, not on some independent show, but on WWE RAW. The same company he publicly said had lost its way. The same company he claimed he'd never need again. But here's where it gets absolutely wild. According to multiple sources backstage, the first person Chris Jericho encountered after his shocking appearance wasn't Triple H. It wasn't Roman Reigns. It wasn't even Vince. Wait, Vince isn't there anymore. It was Cody Rhodes, the American Nightmare himself, the man who left WWE, helped build AEW alongside Chris Jericho, and then came back to WWE to finish his story. Think about the layers here for a second. These two men stood together at All In. They were part of the foundation that said we don't need WWE to make wrestling matter. They were the faces of the alternative, the revolution. And now they are standing backstage at Monday Night Raw, and according to everyone who was there, the tension was thick. Quick question for you: who had a bigger impact on AEW's early success, Chris Jericho or Cody Rhodes? Comment your answer. Let's talk about what this meeting actually means, because it's deeper than just two guys having a conversation. When Cody Rhodes returned to WWE, the narrative was clear. He left to prove he could main event without the WWE machine, accomplished everything he needed to accomplish, and came back to finish what his father started. There was honor in that story. There was redemption. The fans bought into it completely because it felt real. But Jericho? This hits different. This man didn't just leave WWE, he became the face of the competition. He was AEW's first champion. He elevated talent. He created fact irons. He told anyone who would listen that Tony Khan's vision was the future and that WWE was stuck in the past. He made it personal. And now, allegedly, he's walking back through those doors like none of that ever happened. The backstage reports are absolutely fascinating. Multiple wrestlers who were present have described the Cody Jericho encounter as intense and uncomfortable. One source said you could cut the tension with a knife. Another said Cody's expression was unreadable, but that the conversation lasted several minutes with both men speaking in hushed tones away from other personnel. Here's what makes this even more controversial: Jericho's AEW contract situation. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and contract details are always murky in wrestling, but the timing of this is suspicious. Reports suggested that Jericho's deal with AEW was structured differently than most contracts, with specific clauses about creative control and outside opportunities. Did he find a loophole? Did Tony Khan actually release him? Or is this some kind of collaborative effort that's bigger than any of us realize? Drop a comment. Do you think Tony Khan knew about Jericho going to WWE, or did Chris go into business for himself? Let's address the elephant in the room. What does this mean for AEW? Because listen, say what you want about Chris Jericho, but that man brought legitimacy to All Elite Wrestling when it needed it most. His name recognition, his ability to create storylines out of thin air, his willingness to put over younger talent. Love him or hate him, AEW doesn't become what it is without Chris Jericho's contributions in those critical first years. But now you've got to wonder if this opens the floodgates. If Chris Jericho can go back to WWE after everything, after the tweets, the interviews, the promos, the years of building AEW's brand, then who's next? Does this make every AEW contract meaningless? Does this tell every wrestler that loyalty is just a negotiating tactic? And what about the WWE locker room? Because that's another conversation entirely. You've got guys who stayed loyal through the tough times, who didn't jump ship when AEW offered them money, who believed in Triple H's vision for the new WWE. And now Chris Jericho, who publicly mocked and criticized the company, gets to walk back in and potentially take a WrestleMania spot. You don't think there's resentment brewing? The Cody Rhodes angle makes this even more complicated, because Cody went through the process. He came back, worked his way up, won the Royal Rumble, main event WrestleMania. He earned his place back in WWE. But if Jericho can just show up as the mystery man and immediately insert himself into the main event picture, what message does that send? Real talk, should Chris Jericho have to earn his spot back in WWE, or does his legend status give him an automatic pass? Let me know below. Now, let's speculate on what this actually led to, because that backstage meeting with Cody wasn't random. Nothing in wrestling is random. If WWE is smart and Triple H has proven he's very smart, this becomes a storyline goldmine. Imagine the promos. Imagine Cody Rhodes confronting Jericho in the ring about abandoning the revolution they started together. Imagine Jericho playing the ultimate opportunist heel, justifying why he's always been about Chris Jericho first and everything else second. The dream match potential alone is insane. Jericho versus Rhodes at WrestleMania, with that backstory, with the real-life tension and history, that's money. That's the kind of storytelling that transcends wrestling and becomes genuine sports entertainment at its finest. But there's also the nightmare scenario. What if this is a short-term deal? What if Jericho shows up, does a quick program, and then disappears again? What if this is just about making headlines and popping a rating? Because that would be the worst possible outcome, cheapening both WWE's credibility and Jericho's legacy in the process. Here's what we can't ignore. Chris Jericho is 53 years old. His career is in the twilight phase. He's got maybe 2-3 years left of performing at a high level. So every decision he makes now is about legacy. It's about how he's remembered. And showing up in WWE after everything that's happened, that's either the brilliant final chapter of the greatest reinvention story in wrestling history, or it's a desperate cash grab that tarnishes everything he built. The backstage meeting with Cody Rhodes might have been cordial. It might have been contentious, but what it definitely was is significant. Because these two men represent two different paths, two different philosophies about what loyalty means in modern wrestling. And now their paths have crossed again under the brightest lights in the industry. Last question for you: if WWE does Cody Rhodes versus Chris Jericho, who should win and why? Give me your booking in the comments. Look, here's the bottom line. Whether you think Chris Jericho is a sellout, a genius, or something in between, you cannot deny that his appearance on Raw changed everything. It changed the conversation about contracts, loyalty, and what's possible in modern wrestling. It put AEW on notice. It energized the WWE locker room for better or worse. And it gave us one of the most compelling potential storylines heading into WrestleMania season. That backstage meeting between Chris Jericho and Cody Rhodes, that's just the beginning. This story is going to dominate wrestling conversation for months. And we're going to be here covering every single development, every twist, every turn. So make sure you're subscribed to Wrestling Zone 1, hit that notification bell, and drop your hottest takes in the comments below. This conversation is just getting started, and trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. Let's argue about it in the comments. I'll be down there responding to your takes.